Well, good morning. My name is Pat Murphy. I'm the superintendent here in Arlington Public Schools, and this is a very proud morning for us here in Arlington. I would like to start first by thanking Dr. Chris Wilmore, and I know Dr. Wilmore is around. He's right here. Chris, he's the principal here at Wakefield. And our Secretary of Education made the remark here just a second ago. Also, the most important people here in the room are students from Wakefield, HB Woodlawn, and the Career Center. I also want to recognize the Governor and the First Lady, Dorothy McAuliffe, as well as Ann Holton, who's here, as we look at shaping the future of education. We have a number of parents from our larger community, but also the Wakefield community, and I also want to thank especially the staff here at Wakefield, who I know this is a proud morning. I also want to recognize that we have a number of our local elected officials as well as state officials, and I would like to recognize them here this morning. I'm going to start with our school board chair, Dr. Emma Violan Sanchez. Ms. Nancy Van Dorn, our vice chair. Dr. Barbara Kananen, school board member. Mr. Reed Goldstein, school board member. We also have a number of county electeds here. I'm going to start with former school board member and chair, and now county board chair, Ms. Libby Garvey. Mr. Jay Fassett, Vice Chair. And Ms. Katie Crystal. We also have our Arlington County Treasurer, Ms. Carla De La Pava, here with us as well. All the way in the back. There you are, Carla. I would also like to recognize two of our sponsors of this morning's legislation. One local and one within our metro region. The first, Delegate Alfonso Lopez. And then also Tag Greason. And I saw Tag earlier this morning. There you are, sir. We have also some members here from our Virginia School Board of Education. Our Vice Chair, Ms. Joan Wadiska. Joan? And also another board member, former colleague of mine in Fairfax, Dr. Elizabeth Lodel. And then finally, our state superintendent, Dr. Steve Staples, is joining us as well this morning. All right, I'm going to ask two of our students here from Wakefield to please come forward. Casey Tucker and Abby Alameu, if they could please join me at the podium. Casey's going to do the honors, but I want to introduce both of these students. And then where is Lisa Labella? Where's Lisa? Right here. Lisa, would you please just stand for a moment? These folks... These folks traveled with us down to speak to the State Board of Education earlier this winter and had an opportunity to begin to shape and influence the legislation that's going to be signed into action this morning. And really, these two students, I think, carried the ball. They really focused on how senior project and beginning to prepare themselves for the workforce with the things that are happening here, not only at Wakefield, but across Arlington, is going to shape the future of what our economy and what our workforce looks like. So I think we're playing kind of a pivotal role, but I also think it's an opportunity for us to learn from others. So I'm going to ask Casey to please do the honors and introduce the governor, but I wanted to recognize both Abby and Casey for the job that they did earlier this year down in Richmond. Let's give them a big hand of applause. Thank you. There you go.
Good morning. It is now my honor to introduce Governor McAuliffe. Governor McAuliffe is committed to public education from K-12 to higher education to workforce development. He understands that education is the engine for his plan to build a new Virginia economy. And he has a real passion for creating opportunities for all of Virginia's students. He's made phenomenal advances in education this year, and I'm excited to introduce the Honorable Terry McAuliffe, the 72nd Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you. What grade are you in? 12. Good for you. Good. What's next? College. Good. Morning, everybody. Let's hear it for Casey. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. What an honor to be here with you today. It is great to be at the greatest high school in all of Virginia, and and I'll even take it further. The greatest high school in the United States of America, Wakefield here. So, what an honor to be here with you today. I have a lot of news. I'm going to talk about education here, which is so important. We had so many accomplishments this year. And first and foremost, it would not have happened without the great leadership of the greatest Secretary of Education in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Ann Holton, who's here with us today. I always love it because Ann usually introduces me at these events, and she says I'm her favorite governor, which is very impressive for Ann to say that, since she is the daughter of a governor and was married to a governor, and the idea that I'm number one, but she says, on education you are. But it's an honor, and I do also want to thank one of the greatest advocates ever in the history of the Commonwealth to make sure every child in Virginia has access to a healthy meal, to make sure that our children, when they go to school, don't go to school hungry, because you cannot learn our STEM courses if all you're thinking about is a hungry stomach. So when I got elected governor, we had about 300,000 children who did not have access to a breakfast in the morning. Now we have, through all of our schools, thousands and thousands of children are now getting access not only to breakfast after the bell and breakfast programs, but also summer feeding programs. The greatest First Lady in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Dorothy McAuliffe, who is here. And I know Ann won't take offense to that, since we're married. I mean, you know. But it's great to be back in Northern Virginia. As you all remember, many of you were there with me. I know clearly our Board of Education members were there with me when I unveiled our plans at Mark Twain High School or Elementary School in Fairfax. I talked about what we were going to put into our budget, our K through 12 budget, and how important it was to us. In our introduced budget, as you know, we laid out some very bold proposals. We were going to promise to make historic investments in education, promised to do the most that had ever been done in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. We talked about bringing some new innovative approaches to better connect our students with the 21st century workforce. And folks, I now stand here 5 months later, and I'm proud to announce right here at Wakefield High School, we honored every single one of those commitments. We got $1 billion of new funding for education, the largest investment in the history of the Commonwealth of Virginia. In addition, we passed a $2.2 billion bond initiative for our higher ed institutions for research that will help 46 of our institutions, who will immediately go build new chemistry, biology labs, so that we can build that workforce of the future. So what a session we had today. We did it in a bipartisan way. The session we just finished and I'm announcing today truly was historic for the Commonwealth of Virginia. As Casey mentioned, I talk a lot about building that new Virginia economy. I think we all understand here in Virginia, we're vulnerable. We are the #1 recipient of Department of Defense dollars. Of all 50 states, we're #1. 27 military installations, the largest naval base in the world, the Pentagon, CIA, Quantico, Langley, Oceana. That's great news when they're spending money, but when you have sequestration, government shutdown, and 2 years sequestration is coming back, we have to diversify our economy. We have to build that new workforce of the future, because it's important to get that federal money from military, but we can't rely on it exclusively. And that has been the framework of what we've worked on the last 2 years since I was elected governor. I'm proud to announce we have had great success in the last 2 years. When I got elected, I inherited a lovely $2.4 billion deficit. Working together, we turned that into the largest surplus in Virginia history. I just announced a 4% unemployment rate, the lowest rate we've had since June of '08. Today, more workers in Virginia than any time in our history. Initial unemployment claims just hit a 41-year low. We've brought in about 650 projects, $11 billion of new capital investment in the last 2 years. Folks, the economy of Virginia today is humming thanks to the great work of all of you. So how do you do that? I travel the globe. I was in Europe last week. I'm the most internationally traveled governor in America. I go everywhere I can around the globe. I've had 17 trade missions, 6 more this year. Why? 95% of the world's customers live outside the United States of America. 81% of the economic growth over the next 5 years will occur outside of America. We have to go there to get our customers, but most importantly, we have to go to bring those innovative businesses from around the globe back to Virginia. How do you do that? You have to convince a CEO before they spend billions and millions of dollars on new factories and new plants that we have a workforce 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It is the states that have the best workforce development that are going to get those businesses of the 21st century. How do you do that? It all starts with education. If you have a great education system, I'm a huge advocate of pre-K. Every child in Virginia ought to have access to a pre-K education. The best K through 12 system, and of course, the best higher ed. When you have all of that and you're connecting all the dots together, you can bring those businesses in. So Ann and I embarked, we went on 8 roundtables around the Commonwealth. We met with teachers, we met with administrators, we met with parents, we met with students. Give us your best ideas of how we make the Virginia system the best. And we came back with a lot of great innovative ideas, which we actually baked into the budget, and those results are what we actually got done. And we worked in a bipartisan way to get it done. It was so important for our future and the investments that we now have in our budget. I can now say, with the $1 billion that we just put in, this new $1 billion investment, it will include more than $890 million that will go direct to K through 12. These investments are absolutely critical to build that economy of the future. But what we also did is we gave this money, but we also gave the local jurisdictions flexibility. Because if you give money and we tie it and tell you how to do it, that's not really being creative or innovative. We have now given you the tools. And we've told you to be flexible with this money and figure out the best way to use that money. So we've given you the money. We've given you the tools to be successful, so we're now asking all of you to be creative, to be innovative. I want the best high schools in the globe. There's no question about it. We have all the tools. There are governors today around this country that are standing up who have had to cut education. You can go to some of our southern states. I won't mention any of those to the south of us. They have a few other issues as well, but I'll leave it for that for today. And let me be clear, folks. The other way is to make sure that Virginia is open and welcoming to everyone. I promise women and that's an important point. So I did have to veto a religious freedom bill, and I did veto some bills that would roll back I did have to veto a couple bills that were going to defund Planned Parenthood. Let's stop all that. Let's make sure that Virginia is open and welcoming to everybody here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But that workforce of the future, high school, I believe, is the key. And this is something that Steve and Ann and I have spent hours and Dorothy thinking about, because let's be honest, our high schools don't work the way they should anymore. They were built for the Industrial Revolution. Well, that's great, but guess what? It's no longer the Industrial Revolution ages. We now live in a 21st century economy. What was taught 50, 60, 70, 80 years is really not applicable to where we need to go forward. It is a new day, as I refer to in education, and that's why the jobs that were built in the past for the 19th century don't fit our 21st century model. Our students deserve much better, and I know our high schools can do so much more than they've done. I want our high schools to be laboratories of innovation, laboratories for creativity. That is why the first piece of legislation that I'm going to sign today was championed by Senator John Miller and Delegate Tad Greason that will seek to completely redesign high school experience so that we are putting our students on a track to fulfill the promise of the new Virginia economy. Delegate Greason is here with us today, and I want to thank him for his hard work on this legislation. And I also want to thank him for his great work on the SOL Innovation Committee, which is so important. I promised to all of you when I ran for governor that we would reduce the number of SOLs here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We had too many tests. Our teachers were teaching to tests. And our students were learning how to memorize. Well, that doesn't do you a lot of good in the business community, because when all of a sudden a tough problem comes to you, memorizing something is not going to get you out of that problem. It's that innovative thinking, creative, cognitive thought process that goes on, and that's where we have to get back to. So I'm proud to say we've gotten rid of 5 SOLs so far, and we've just done in the budget some new computer adaptive testing so we can take these 6-hour tests. Third graders taking 6-hour tests, are you kidding me? So we're taking those down to 2 hours. Third graders should not be taking 6-hour tests. Right, Steve? But I do want to thank our SOL Innovation Committee, because their out-of-the-box thinking has given the executive office as well as the legislative branch some really great out-of-the-box ideas which we're following up on. Their work has also led to the high school innovation grants, which will allow school divisions now to test and to develop new approaches to learning and then provide us with valuable lessons as we move forward to figure out how we deal with the high schools going forward. Senator John Miller carried this legislation in the Senate. He fought very hard for its passage. He was a lifelong advocate for public education, and he worked very closely on this issue. I spoke at John's funeral last month. We lost a great advocate for education here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. But as I spoke and gave his eulogy, I talked about what John had done for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And John will never be forgotten, because the changes that he has made into our curriculum, the changes he has made to our education system, will affect hundreds of thousands of students for so many years going forward here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I miss him greatly. I think about John greatly. I do want to recognize his wife Sharon is here and his daughter Jenny are here with us today. They did not want to miss this very important bill signing, so stand up and give a great round of applause to Sharon and Jenny. This new high school redesign bill, which I will sign, will fundamentally change the high school experience, providing a rigorous new pathway for students to earn their diplomas and to bridge the gap between the classroom and the workforce. The old high schools of big buildings with classrooms, with seats where you get credit for seat time is not a valuable experience. We have to change that experience. As governor today, we have jobs open in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have 30,000 technology jobs open today. I have 17,000 cybersecurity jobs open today. And to all you students back there, listen to me very carefully. Starting pay for these cyber jobs today is $88,000. Wow is right. Now, you're all too young, but there used to be a movie called The Graduate. The key phrase was plastics. It is now cyber, folks. So if I can give you any piece of advice, let me tell you that take that away from today. I do want to thank the Board of Ed. I know that we have Liz and Joan here with us today. The Board of Ed is now going to be responsible. We all come up with great ideas, but it's up to really the Board of Ed to take it to that next level. So let's give our Board of Education a round of applause if we could. So our new high schools in Virginia will put greater emphasis on career exploration, developing in-demand skills, taking early college courses, and getting industry credentials. It will allow students to demonstrate the mastery of their material through group projects and work experience. We need to do more collaborative working together. 4 or 5 students need to spend more time working together and problem solving. In business, which I've been in my whole life, when you encounter a problem, you don't sit alone in your desk with the door closed trying to figure it out. You bring all your colleagues together and try and figure out collaboratively, how do we deal with this issue? And that's what we have to put more focus on. Our high schools should be exposing our young people to emerging fields, cybersecurity, biolife sciences, human genome sequencing, all of these big data. Virginia now has more data centers than any state in the United States of America. We are leading the country in this area. Computer science skills. We need to be opening doors to internships, externships, and other hands-on learning experiences that will put cutting-edge careers within our students' grasp. Wakefield High School is a perfect example, and one of the reasons why we chose to be here today, because you have unleashed the creativity of this school, and you've empowered your students to forge their own path to success. All seniors here at Wakefield are required to complete 100 or more hours on a senior project, which earns them a full year course credit. One student raised awareness about bone marrow donations, while another student studied semiconductors. This is truly an innovative model that combines analytical thinking, creativity, communication, and other skills that are essential in the workforce of the 21st century. And while we are excited for these students and look forward to seeing what they accomplish, we are firm believers that this experience that you have here in Wakefield, every single high school, no matter where you are in the Commonwealth of Virginia, South Side or Southwest or Hampton Roads, needs also to have these types of experiences. But let me be very clear. The flexibility this legislation will provide will in no way lower our expectations for our students. As I've argued to Dr. Staples, this will raise our expectations for all of our students. We must continue to hold our young people to the highest possible standards. What this legislation will do is foster success by creating a variety of pathways to develop skills that will help students succeed. The second piece of legislation that I'll sign today was sponsored by Senator Ruff and Delegate Byron, which will play a key role in fully enacting what we call the new high school redesign. The bill will make it easier for professionals to earn temporary adjunct teaching permits so that they can provide instruction in our schools in a part-time capacity. If we have folks here in the Commonwealth of Virginia who have great experience, why are we making it difficult for them to come into the schools to bring their real-life experiences here into our schools? So this bill will change that. I appreciate the great work. This legislation will now give our students the opportunity to gain critical career and technical educational training from skilled professionals from high-demand areas. This innovative legislation and our historic investments were achieved by approaching these issues as Virginia's first. Most importantly, we did this, and all the Democrats and Republicans came together because the point I always make, jobs is not a partisan political issue. Education should not be a partisan political issue. I really don't care what your party registration is. Our job as elected officials is to put the tools in place for our students to be the most successful in the globe. And the bipartisan work has yielded tremendous legislation this year, and I thank everybody who has worked so hard to make this so successful. So I thank you all for being here today. And to all the students, you have the tools. And to all the educators, you have the tools. I don't get out of bed wanting Virginia to be second, third, fourth, 25th, or 50th. I like us to be the best. Number one, I want to crush those other 49 states. That is my personality, and we now have the tools to do it, and just get out of bed every single morning. I mean, just think today if you got out of bed and you were in Pennsylvania or New York or Florida, my goodness gracious. No. You woke up in the greatest state in the greatest nation on earth, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we should never forget that. When those three ships came over in 1607, they didn't go there, they came here. They knew what they were doing. So I thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our great delegate, Tad Greason, to join us up here.
You know, there's nothing better in life than trying to follow that, right? I mean, You know, Casey, you did a great job introducing, but I'd like you to stand here and try to top that. That's the tough part. This is a great day in Virginia. As the governor said, we are super excited about what's going on in Virginia today. I'd like to thank the governor and the first lady and the secretary for being here. I have spent a lot of time working with those three individuals on very key pieces of legislation. And I will tell you, being a Republican in the House from Loudoun County, it's nice to be here in Arlington. Thank you, thank you. The governor said it perfectly. This is a bipartisan issue, and I'd like to put a finer part on it. It's not only bipartisan, it's bicameral, House and Senate. Not only bicameral, it's bi-geographic, Northern Virginia and the rest of the state. If we don't spend time talking about how we're gonna get this done, we're gonna miss the opportunity to do it right. And I will tell you, putting black words on a white piece of paper to create a piece of legislation is not as easy as you think, because this is a very, very complicated and a very important issue. For those students out there, we do our best every day. Sometimes we mess up, sometimes we don't. I think we got this one right. And you guys are going to be well served in the future as we move forward with a new high school redesign that will serve you and your colleagues as you move forward into the workforce. 25 years ago plus, I went to Lake Braddock High School. I graduated from there. It's a great school. It was the greatest school in the history of the Commonwealth. It probably still is. And then I went on to United States Military Academy at West Point. And in those two experiences, I learned very quickly, the person who wants to get their name in lights is not the person we want doing the job. You want someone who's willing to roll up their sleeves, work with the other side, and figure out how you're going to get it done. And I will tell you, there is no greater example of that than John Miller. John Miller was by my side, and I was by his side on every part of this legislation. And we did dozens of bills together, dozens. People would say, Tag, what does John think? And I'd say, well, we talked about it yesterday, and he thinks this. The next day, John, what does Tag think? Well, we talked yesterday, and he thinks this. It's exactly the way we should be doing it in Virginia, and that's the way we've done it. And I'll tell you, the high school redesign is one thing that I am most proud of, because when you set a child on a pathway, and you have any inclination that the only pathway is to go to a prestigious four-year university, you've left a ton of students behind. A ton of students behind. I've got 3 kids in the public school system right now. Matthew's a junior, and I'll tell you what, Mary Beth and I are scared to death. We have no idea if we're gonna get this right or if we're gonna get it wrong. But what we're gonna try to do is provide him with the pathways that make most sense to him. If he wants to go right into the workforce and get $88,000 a year, do you guys want to apply for that? Anybody want to get on board with that? That's a great alternative for him. If he wants to go get a certificate and become a Microsoft certified engineer, that's a great pathway for him. If he wants to go right into the workforce or to a 2-year college and then to UVA, fantastic. I will tell you, I almost fell over last night. He said, Dad, I think I want to apply to West Point where you went. That would be pretty cool. But it's got to be his path, right? Can't be my path. And, you know, the governor's got an affiliation with the Naval Academy, but we're still friends, so that's cool. We'll go on. Matthew has choices, and you guys are going to create these pathways for thousands and thousands of students here in the Commonwealth to find the best pathway for them. The system that we've been working on is broken. The system says you've got one choice, and it's UVA, Virginia Tech, James Madison, ODU, and we're going to change the system. In this high school redesign bill, and this is actually the bill, well, that's the bill right there, it's going to change the way we do things. I'll leave you with one last thought. If we sit around trying to take credit as Republicans or Democrats or House members or Senate members or Northern Virginia or rest of Virginia, we're going to lose. But if we sit and work together like we did on the SOL Innovation Committee, we put that bill through 27 drafts before we got it right. And we still have more work to do. I think we've got a great future in front of us. The governor has said it. We're already the greatest state in the whole universe. We're going to continue to be the greatest state in the whole universe, and we're going to do that by working together. Governor, I thank you for your bipartisanship, and I thank the Secretary. We're going to really kill it here in Virginia. So thank you very much.
Appropriations Bill HB 895. Here it is. Captain Byron's Bill 279. There we go. Done. Senator Ruff's Bill SB 573. Here we go. Get them all up. Wait a minute. I'm feeling bad for those other states. Where's our Board of Ed members? There's Joan and Liz. Here we go.
Oh, thank you.
Joan's behind you. Huh? There you go. Now you got the work to do with those pens.
We're ready.
Thanks, everybody.
Good.